everyone. Okay, so thank you, Rohit, for the introduction, and we can start today's session. Okay, so as Rohit already mentioned, guys, so this is the second session. We have the remaining session coming. The one which is highlighted is today's topic. We are going to talk about context grounding and the vector databases. The way we are going to structure today is I'll start the session, I'll show something, and then I'll hand it over to Manoj to give you more context around the same topic. Okay, so with that, let's get started. Okay, context grounding, right? So we'll again not directly jump to the technical or to the presentation, right? We'll just start very simple, right? So for example, you are attending this session or you are in a meeting and you have received a text message or a email which says it's ready. That's it, right? You just have received a message on your mobile phone or in your Teams, Slack, anywhere, right? And it just says it's ready. Now, if you have ordered a pizza and maybe it came from an unknown number, then you know that you have ordered a pizza. If you are expecting a parcel, then you may be parcel. But without context, what is ready? So, for example, if you and me, we both of us are working in a project and you received a message saying it's ready, then I understand that yes, it is a project. You're talking about a dinner, you're talking about pizza, you're talking about a parcel. But if you just receive any information without context, you are not able to understand anything. And that is why to understand anything, we need a context, right? Let's take a different example. Whenever we talk about context, the way it is said and the tone and the setting is also important. For example, I just say that you are unbelievable and I just said it to Manoj. But when I told this, I was smiling, I was happy. That means when I say to Manoj that you are unbelievable, I means that I'm saying Manoj that he might have cracked a good joke or he might have something which is very funny. However, at the same time, if my tone was angry and I was upset, that means that the same thing, the input is same, the context is different, which means that the surrounding also has a impact, which means that your tone setting also helps you to understand the context like your facial expression, where you are sitting. Did you just punch the other guy and say that you are unbelievable? That means you are angry. If you are smiling, that means it was a happy thing, right? So that's why to understand any information, we need to have the proper context, other information, the tone, and the setting. The same thing you would be able to notice in your day to day use cases or in your life, such as when you work with maps and locations, right? So, if I am with a friend, right, and I just say that take the left at the next light. Now, you would not be able to make sense out of it if I just send this message directly to your mobile phone. However, if let's say you are in a new city, you are driving a car, I send you this message and I just say turn left at the next light. Now I do not know what is happening around you. You are in a new city, I am in a new city. So this instruction become confusing. And that's why it is important to give the context. And as human beings, whenever we talk to each other, we use a lot of context which you might be using, but you might have not realized that this is context grounding. And that's where we are coming to this topic now, right? How does context help us as a human to understand this thing? Humans heavily rely on the context. For example, clarity in ambiguity. This is a phrase which means that, for example, bank could be a river bank or it could be a financial institution, right? It can be a river bank or it can be a financial institution. If I say a sentence like this, I saw a bank on my way to work. Now, what do I mean? Do I mean a river bank or do I mean a financial institution? But let's say if I'm talking to Rohit, who is already working on a bank, and our conversation is happening around banking, financial institution, money, which means that we are talking about the financial institution. But let's say the context of the conversation is more towards nature, river, valley, then means I am talking about the river bank, right? The second thing is understanding relationship, right? So, for example, you are sitting at a family dinner and someone says, pass the salt. right? So there was 10 people sitting in the dining area and just say pass the salt. Now, as a human, you do not tell specific person pass the salt, but the person who is nearest to the salt just take it and pass it back to you. So which means that before you respond to anything, it is able to understand the relationship, and that's what as a human we do. And then it also help us to make decision. If someone says say to you, let's go out, right? Now, let's go out. Now, when you see listen this, automatically you will see that what time it is, what weather it is, what is the location, whether we are decide going for a walk, for a dinner, or a weekend trip. So for example, it's already let's say 9 p.m. in the night, and the weather is good, we all are hungry, and somebody says let's go out, you automatically figure out that we are talking about dinner, right? So that means that as a human we heavily rely on the context. And now, if I just tell context grounding in the technical terms, you would understand why exactly context is important. Okay. With all this background, now let's see how LLMs, when I say LLM, it is large language models, one of the fundamentals for building the agentic automation. How LLMs use context. So, large language models like ChatGPT are designed to process and generate human-like text. To effectively to do that, they use context. So, imagine you are having a conversation at a friend. Now, this time the friend is nothing but an LLM. You automatically remember what you have been talking about. So when I talk to, let's say, my friend Manoj, I don't give him my complete background that, hi, I am your colleague, I am also an MVP, we both are doing a session and everything, because it has all the background information about you and you directly start the conversation. And when you talk to a new person who is not known to you, then you introduce yourself and you give the context, you give background, what is the conversation about, right? So that's the same way any LLM use the context to derive the final information out of it. How does it do that? Technically, in the background, what happens? It breaks the information into tokens. So I have given it a sentence that I love apples. What happens in the background? Any LLM is going to take that input, break it into small, small chunks, which is known as tokens, right? So you could relate it to OpenAI tokens, LLM tokens, right? When we go to chat GPT and all, consumption tokens. So this is the tokens, right? So you give a sentence, you give an input, that LLM divide into different tokens. Then every LLM has something which is called context window. It has a memory, right? How much memory it can store, and that part is called a context window. So LLM would have a context window, that context window would have a memory, whatever you pass as an input goes to that memory, it will feed in, and let's say if it is way too long, then the most might token might be only considered, right? So you need to understand that LLM has something which is called context window. You might have seen this when you keep chatting to any chatbot or any LLM or OpenAI, something like that. After some time, it start giving hallucinations and it gives you start giving vague responses, right? Because the context window size is limited or it might be full. Different LLMs have a different context windows, right? Now, predicting the next word. This is what LLM actually used. So now, based on the tokens which are available into the context window, next time when you say that I love apple and banana, but my favorite fruit is, it is able to relate that it could be mango, it could be grapes. It is not going to give you something like I love apple and banana, but my favorite fruit is a laptop, right? Because that does not fit in the context. So that's why when working with any LLM, agentic AI, context becomes important. And let's try to see some of the examples. Conversation flow, right? So tell me about dogs and then tell me about what is their diet. So when you say tell me about dogs, the next statement when you say tell me about their diet, it is not going to give you the diet for the human person. It is going to give you about the dogs only. This is an example of context. When you say it and all, it is able to understand. You can give input to LLMs like summarize the article and explain how it applies to the market. The LLM understand the context and then explain to the marketing. You can actually revisit the previous inputs also. You can just say that write a poem about rain and now you say make it funny. But when you say make it funny, it already understand, it already had a context about the poem, right? And then the LLM understand the input and provide you back the output. Okay, so now with all this background, I'll stop my the screen, and I will just maybe I can just cancel this. This is our input, and I'll just share my screen again with Autopilot, right? I'll take a pause, guys. If you understand the context grounding, just maybe comment context grounding, so I understand that we all are on the same page. And then you just comment context grounding, so I understand that yes. Great. Okay, I can see some of the comments right now. This is Autopilot for everyone. Okay, and this have new chat and everything, right? In case you don't have the setup, we will share the links on how do you set up and all. Manoj has shared in the previous session, so you can refer that as well. We have the recordings, all of this material is available. So this is the Autopilot for everyone. Now let's see how does context affect the things. If I just go here and I write a prompt, I'm just copy pasting it from the PPT to save time, right? How do I reset my password? Now, what happens here, Autopilot or any LLM in the background, it understand the context, and then it will try to give me some of the response. And then it says that, hello, Mukesh, I would be happy to reset the password. Go to the login page, click on forgot password, enter the email, enter your password, and so on and so forth, right? It has given me the response, but this response is not good for me. However, if I would have given it a bit more context, which means that if I would have given it a bit more background, something like this, right? A corporate user is unable to log into the AD Active Directory because of the forgotten password. Provide a step-by-step guide on resetting using the SSPR portal, ensuring the security compliance and the minimal downtime. Now, the request is exactly the same, but what is happening is I am giving it more context. So that's why whenever we talk about agentic AI application, agentic automation, context become important. Now, if you see, this output make more sense because input was defined and I had given it a proper context. As a developer, we say that you can use Autopilot to, let's say, code. So I can just go here and I say new chat, and let me just try to copy paste one prompt. I'm just saying fix the code for me. Okay, and I'll just paste a Python code. Okay, so I am talking to an LLM and I'm just saying fix the code for me. But I have not given the background. What do I actually want to fix? I have not given the context. So yes, the LLM has responded to me, but it has responded in a generic way. However, if I would have given the same prompt, something like this, I am trying to calculate, can you fix the code for me, with a little more context where I'm saying that I want to include the 10% tax on this. Now what will happen with this context, the LLM would be able to respond me much better. And that is why whenever we talk about any agentic application, when we build in the upcoming session, context grounding becomes important. So in simple terms, context grounding simply means grounding the context of the LLM response, so you get the response what you actually want, right? So this was a brief of about the context grounding. And now the next thing is I want to quickly show a demo which all of us can relate to. So we are having these sessions, right? Now, if I go today and I ask it a question, maybe I'll just copy, paste it again. I'm using an LLM. I just go here and I say, what is the session 3 into the transition to the agentic automation webinar? Now, this is connected to internet. It has a lot of context, a lot of information. But what happens here? It says that, Mukesh, I do not know where is this agentic series, which is the session, what you are trying to do. it has no information about it, and it says that I do not have the context or I do not have the information. Now, what as a developer I can do here is, with the UiPath products, you can enable the context grounding, right? So what I have done is, if I show you my screen quickly, I have a PDF which is available, which is nothing but the same event details which we have from the page, right? Community page. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to teach the autopilot that this is the context. So for that, we'll just go back to our staging portal. For me, I'm using staging. You might use the cloud.uipath.com. The steps are exactly the same, right? So whichever tenant you are logged into, so you just have to go to the tenant. I'll go here. I'll go to the admin, right? And in the admin, this is the same place where you have enabled the autopilot for everyone. You go to the AI trust layer. And then here you see this guy, which is now the context grounding, right? So now when I say context grounding, I hope you guys have the background that what is context grounding, right? So I'll go to context grounding, and in the context grounding, I have these two folders which are coming from the orchestrator. It is asking me which folder you want to create the context. I want to create it in the autopilot folder. And then it is asking me to add a new here. So I go here, add new, and it is asking me to create a add new index, but at the same time, it is asking me to provide a storage bucket. Now, I do not have a storage bucket. So let's create that first. Why do I need a storage bucket? Storage bucket is a place where you can store the file so that autopilot or any other agent slash any other LLM can reference to. So to access the storage bucket, you simply have to go to the orchestrator. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is, I'll simply upload my session details to storage bucket, link the storage bucket to autopilot, will ask the same question, and then hopefully it should be able to give me the details, right? So I have these two folders, autopilot and this. I'll go to autopilot. In the storage bucket, I don't have any information as of now, absolutely blank. I go here and I say create new storage bucket, and I can just go here and I say session agenda, and good practice, provide a description, right? And then I just say add. So this is now a bucket. Now into that bucket, I'm going to upload the file. You can have multiple files. So for my use case, I only have this PDF, which is having the session details. So I go here and I say open, and I say upload. We'll just wait for it to upload. The file is uploaded successfully onto the storage bucket. But still, your autopilot for everyone does not understand which storage bucket and all to connect. So for that, you'll go back to the same place, admin, AI trust layer, context grounding in this folder, add new, right? You have to create an index. So I would say that this is index for my sessions, right? And then I can just provide a description that what is this index all about. Good practice. Okay. And then what is this kind of? You can always use the integration services connection. We have put it in the storage bucket. It's asking me which folder. It's in the autopilot folder. What is the storage bucket? See, session agenda, and what kind of files. This means that you can restrict the files, but I'll just select to all, and I say sync now. Now what happens? Now this context grounding is available for me into my admin section, but still it is not hooked up to the autopilot. So for that, I just go to this tab here, which says autopilot for everyone, select the tenant, and this is the same place where you would have installed autopilot. If you expand that, there you would see a section of context grounding. You can expand it, and then you just have to enable the index. The index for me is autopilot, index for the session, and you have to define briefly that what is that index all about. So I just say that this document is having the details about the agentic series on transitioning to this. You can add more details, providing more context, and just say enable. And that has added to the autopilot in index, right? Now in your autopilot, all you have to do is you can just refresh the policies by going to the icon and just say refresh policy, or you can restart the autopilot as well, right? So what is happening, it will now go try to read up the data, it will sync up again, and hopefully now I ask the question, it should be able to give me the same answer, right? So I'll just copy the same question. Last time when I asked the question, it didn't have the context. So I'll go to the new chat. What is session 3 in this? I hit enter, analyzing your request, right? And see, it has hit the transitioning to the agentic automation PDF, which is now coming from your storage bucket context grounding. And now it is able to give you the information that the next session is on 3rd of April. Please do RSVP for the session if you want to understand all of this topic, right? And it is able to give me this information along with the sources, right? So that means that having a context is important whenever you are talking to any LLM slash agentic automation or AI, right? So this is how you enable context rounding, and all the steps whichever I have shown are all documented, are all available. So I'll share you those video links and everything. You can just watch and enable all of this on your own, right? So with that, I'll take a pause and then I'll hand the session over to Manoj. And meanwhile, if you understand this, just maybe write again understood the basics, right? Because Manoj is going to cover a little more advanced, right? So maybe you can just comment down understood basics, so that give some time for Manoj to open up the presentations and all. Okay, great. Understood, understood. Cool. Great. So over to you, Manoj, for the session. Great.
Thank you, Mukesh, for setting up the contest again. Let me just share my screen with you all.
Context for
Um,
context grounding. Nice.
I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yep.
Yes, no?
Manoj, yes, it's visible. Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll start with something interesting here, guys. So on the current slide, you can see two images here. Take a look at these two images and type in the chat box what comes to your mind when you look at these images. So those who don't know, these are two famous Indian films. I'm sure people from India would relate to it. So just type in the chat what comes to your mind.
I like somebody told Gajni and Rajni.
Rajni, robot, Rajni, confused bot, heroes, movie. I like that. No memory, 1 zettabyte memory. Human versus robot, memory loss, short-term memory. Yes, so this is all about memory only. Thank you for your input, guys. So as you know that in AI or in any system, memory refers to the system ability to remember past interaction and use those knowledge, previous knowledge to improve responses. Memory also helps AI become more personalized, context aware, and efficient. Just like we remember what someone just said in a conversation like what we are discussing now. So AI uses this as a active memory. And like we store experiences over a period of time, AI uses this as a long-term memory. So together, they help AI understand, remember, and improve it over the time. So there are two type of memories. One is obviously your active memory. It is like when you're chatting with a colleague, you both know what you have been discussing for the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but if you leave and come back tomorrow, that memory fades unless you wrote it down. So this is your active memory. For UiPath, the good use case could be if you are like chatting with Autopilot for HR and you ask about your leave balance and then you apply for a leave for a specific day. So active memory ensures that the chatbot remains whatever is there in that context. It just fetch without asking it from the user again. So this is your active memory, whereas the long-term memory is like your employee file. So it stores key details about your role, preferences, previous conversation. So when you return to the system again, the system remembers who you are, which Mukesh has just shown you, and picks up where you left. And the good use case for this could be not shitty, but imagine a customer service bot that remembers that you always prefer email notifications, or you had the same issue with an order last month. So even if you contact them after few weeks, it remembers those conversations or takes help from those contexts and provide relevant help if required. So that is the difference between basically a long-term memory and a short-term memory. Now we'll look at the key differences between a long-term and a short-term memory again. So as I said, active memory that just lives in the current session. It's for short-term context. It is fast, temporary recall, and it closes it after the session gets ended. So it will not be able to recall once you end the session. Whereas the long-term memory, it is persistent. It remembers what you discussed last time. It stores knowledge. It can be accessible later. It is persistent. Can also be updated and deleted. Example, I've already given it to you before. So this is about active memory and your long-term memory. Great. Is there any question in the chat? Okay. No. Great. So next topic is again a very interesting topic, and that is vector database. So as you already know that for decades we have been using traditional databases that have been the foundation for storing all your information. So the information gets stored into rows and columns format, which is kind of highly organized, easy to query, and perfect for your transactional systems. But now we are in the era of AI and unstructured data. So we have got text, images, videos, audio. So these are the data that actually doesn't fit neatly into this rows and column format. And this is where this vector database step in. As I said, unlike traditional databases that store data exactly. So if you store the data five will get stored into a database, be it SQL, be it NoSQL, the same data gets stored in the database. But vector database store data in a way that AI or can actually understand the meaning behind it. So instead of like raw text or images, they store information as vectors, which is again in simple terms is a collection of numbers. So in a nutshell, a vector is a numerical representation of your data. But think about it. What's special about these numbers? Any idea? Maybe you can just again use your chat window and type in there. Why vector stores the data into a numerical representation? Remember an answer, binary. Okay. Anybody else? Indexing, great. To identify with a unique key, machine can understand, great. Each vector is unique for long-term memory, right? Fixed length list of numbers, semantic data with positional embedding. That's very accurate. So you are right actually here. Thank you for that. So basically, they capture the meaning. So it is all about the meaning of the data. So when we search in traditional database, we look for the exact match, like where select star from table X, where column A equals to any value. But if you don't use the exact words there, you might not get the right result. So it could be like your like search, it could be any search, but if you don't put the right set of values there, it doesn't return you that data. But in vector database, the search is semantic. What does it mean? The meaning is again the meaning behind the data. For example, if you ask AI or your assistant, show me photos of happy people. What a traditional database will do, it will just again search for a database and will do some kind of a labeling. Okay, if label is happy, then they will show you the result. But a vector database understand the concept of happiness. It can retrieve images of smiling faces, people celebrating, or even someone enjoying your sunset, something like that. So that this is called semantic search, where it understands your context and gives you the relevant data. So on the slide, you can see that. So we have got different type of, you can say data, images, documents. video, audio, and with the help of embedding models, I'll come to that later. But uh, embedding models, but with the help of embedding models, it converts actually give a meaningful name or meaningful number to your data, and then gets stored into your vector database. The other good example here could be we also created a demo for this a few days back. So imagine you are using an AI assistant helping a doctor find medical research. So again, instead of searching the exact keyword, the doctor can ask, uh, find me the studies on how exercise actually improves your heart health. This would be tough if you want to fetch the information from a traditional database, RDBMS. But as I said earlier, a vector database doesn't just match the word; it understands the sentiment or related concept. It could be like physical activity or reducing heart rate, heart disease risk, something like that. And based on all these, you can say information, it searches the data for you. Again, the data retrieval is very fast. It provides more meaning to your search because you don't have to like give multiple information to your system. Just pass one record or one information, it will just match, which we will show. I'll show you in a later slide, and then it will perform the search, and a smart AI result returns you the result. So that is how you perform all your vector searches. Moving on to the next slide. How does it work? So we have seen that okay, this is a vector database, how the data gets stored, but how does the data get stored into your system? So again, the first step, as you can see on the top, is it's a 2D example. So obviously, the very first step here is transforming raw data. Again, it could be your text, images, audio, documents, your emails. It could be anything into your vector embedding. And again, you can think of embedding as a AI ways of understanding meaning. Like as you can see on that image on the top, the word king might be stored as 4 5. The word woman is 5 3. The word banana is 2.5 minus 3. So these numbers don't mean much to us. I don't know what 4 5 means, what 5 3 means, or what 2.5 minus 3 means. But uh, they capture relationship between the words and the meaning. You can see on the right. So on the left, you can see king, man, woman are categorized uh, into one bucket. Then we have got apple, banana, and mango. These are your another bucket which is on a different path. And then we have the football, golf, and tennis, which is again a type of sport. For that, we have got a different embeddings. So AI models like OpenAI embeddings API, we have got Hugging Face models or custom. You can also train your custom train neural networks. So these process input data and convert this into this vector form, which you can see on the screen. So it gives a meaningful, you can say, index to it, a meaningful value to it. So once we have these vector embeddings, they need to be stored in a way that allows the AI to retrieve and compare them quickly. And again, this is where vector databases come in. So we have got the data, we have converted those data into your embeddings, and then we have got specialized database like Pinecone, Chroma. For Facebook, there is one more, FAISS. So these databases store vectors efficiently. Again, as I said earlier, unlike
Hi Manoj, sorry for your interruption. Like your voice is going up and down. Can you please come near to your mic? Something.
is it
Yeah.
better now?
Yeah, it's very better. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Just give me. Okay. So as I said earlier, unlike traditional databases that organize data into your rows and columns, the vector databases stores embedding in a way that enables fast similarity search. So you can see on the right, on the top here, it has actually basically combined all these buckets into one. So I will again come to that how this searches would happen. But here on the screen, you can see that it has divided these, or you can see it has done the a kind of a bucketization for your data to enable the fast similarity search, which we'll see in a next slide. Again, the question is how do we retrieve relevant information? So as you can see here, king, man, woman are a part of one bucket. Your football, golf, and tennis part of a second bucket. So if you type sports, the system will look for exact keyword matches. But if you don't use the exact keyword word, it will search for the relevant information here, right? Any doubts here? Okay. So the system compares this embedding with existing stored vectors using similarity metrics like cosine similarity or Euclidean distance. This we are covering in the next slide. So again, instead of searching for the exact word here, AI finds the closest meaning here, right? If we just go to the next slide, here you can actually see the type of searches we have in the vector database. So first is your Euclidean distance. So maybe I can just pull up the image here. So as you can see on the right, it measures the straight line bit distance between two vectors. Again, if you don't put the right keyword there, it will just search for those vectors, find the you can say the distance, find the shortest path between 2 points, and will give you the result. And this is best for image recognition or recommendation system. Maybe in an image search engine, you have seen that Euclidean distance can help find visually similar images by comparing pixel embedding. Maybe with ChatGPT, if you just search for an dog image, or I guess that is also enabled in Bing. So you pass a dog image and ask for similarity search. So it does this your Euclidean distance, Euclidean search behind the scene, and will provide you the relevant information. So that is first. The second one here is cosine similarity. So cosine similarity measure the two vectors. Maybe I can just pull up the image again. So it measures the angle between two vectors instead of that distance. So even if two vectors, as we have seen in the previous slides, even if two vectors have different magnitudes, they can be considered similar if they point into the same direction. So this is the angle, and it is best suited for your text and document search. So when searching for again budget optimization, the system finds document discussing cost reduction even if they don't contain those exact phrases. The third one here we have is Manhattan distance. So it measures blockwise, or you can say it's a grid-based system. So it uses the blockwise distance between two vectors. So every vector has got some numbers. So it actually calculates those distance grid-wise. So you can again think of walking through city blocks instead of taking a straight line path. Again, it is a very good use case for the logistic company where they can use this for your route optimization when calculating the best delivery options. Again, it could be for logistic, it could be for Indian company like Zomato, Swiggy, or any delivery app like Amazon. They also use they can also use this Manhattan distance. The last one here is Hamming distance. Again, this is not the complete list, but I'm just covering like the common one that we have been using. So it actually counts the number of difference between two vectors. Again, it is best for error detection, or in the medical field science, it is used for your DNA sequence comparison, where you just need to find your genomics to find DNA sequences with small variation. So these are actually your type of searches which vector databases perform based on the data that you pass it to your vector DB. Moving to the next slide, why do we need vector database? So as you can see on the right hand side, more than you can say 80% or 90% of it of your enterprise data is unstructured. Again, these are your emails, support tickets, chats, images, videos, and voice recordings. Again, as you know that unlike your structured data, RDBMS, like rows and column format, this data doesn't fit neatly into these systems. And the other major flaw with the traditional keyword search is it only looks for the exact words. If you type hello word, it will just search for the hello word. Like I said earlier, if you search for uh, cost saving in a document repository, so it just doesn't search for cost saving. It can also search for expense reduction or operational efficiency, something like that, so to give you like a proper meaning to because it understands the semantics instead of just matching the whole keywords. So which is making it fast. The first thing is obviously semantic search. It understands the meaning. It is scalable, can handle millions of or billions of documents efficiently. The third one here is the speed. So again, it is very fast. It can actually find the most relevant results in milliseconds using similarity search. So this is how this is why we need actually vector database, and this is how your vector database perform all your searches behind the scenes. Next, we have a demo where we'll show you how to create storage bucket in UiPath, and then we can show you how to upload and manage data within there. Again, we'll create an index. I guess Mukesh has already shown you, but yeah, I'll show you how I created that. And then we will go to UiPath Studio Web to show you how can you actually use those context grounding activities behind the scene. So let me just again stop sharing, and I'll move to now my Chrome. Where is my Chrome? Okay, I'm on a different page. PowerPoint. Okay, let me share it again. Is it visible, guys? Is Chrome screen
Yes.
visible to you? Great, good. So I guess Mukesh has already shown you how to create a storage bucket in UiPath and upload a document, but I'll show you what I have done so far. So as I said earlier, uh, I've created a storage bucket inside Orchestrator, which contains this information. So this is my storage bucket, and within that storage bucket, I have uploaded one file here, travel visa guidelines. So I've asked ChatGPT to give me a travel visa guidelines in a PDF format, and I got a PDF and I uploaded it there. So this is first step which I did. The second step which I did was, again, I have to go back to my admin again. Under admin, AI trust layer, context grounding. As you can see, I have created this index with the name of SB demo, and there's one more SB demo underscore one in the autopilot folder. I'll show you why I have created two. So these are my two indexes. I've enabled that, and it is visible to me on my UiPath Studio web. So the next step here is I'll go to my UiPath Studio web, and I've created this automation for you, Agentic automation demo, which is nothing but a simple screen which contains a text box and a button. So this is my demo screen here. As you can see, it has got a button and a text box, and I've created a header content dot underscore button dot click file. On the click event of this button, I am invoking this XAML directly. First, let me show you what I've done. Then I can show you the code behind it. So just test on cloud. So it is now opening the app here. Now I'll just type some context here. I am traveling or India. Do you have any visa guidelines for me? Here. So here I've given a kind of a prompt to this chatbot, and I'll just hit submit here. So now it has now gone to this screen here. So okay, let me just click on continue for now. This happens every time when I show the demo. I don't know why, but behind the scene, what it does is it will just go to this UiPath activity here, this SB demo. So we have got this context grounding search enabled here, which will just accept few parameters. So I've already connected with my OpenAI account. I pass the input text. So input text is your the text area. This one. So this information will be passed to this text box. Inside the orchestrator, we have got a shared path, and the index that I've chosen here is sp underscore demo here. So it will just do a context search, and maybe I can show you some additional properties here. So number of search result is one, so you can increase it like 2, 3, 4 depending on uh, your needs, and then the output will be passed. I've just disabled it for now because it was just deducting my balance from my OpenAI account, so I've disabled it for now. So it will just return you the context here, which seems to be not working. Maybe we can try it again. I hope this time it should work. Maybe I pass a different prompt here. Something like that. So as you can see here, now it is working fine. So it has returned what are the visa guidelines which I've entered there, and this is the source. So if I go back to that screen, you can see I have got the response back from my context grounding. This is not a response from my generative AI activities. This is another activity that I'm using here called context grounding search, which goes to my indexes. Again, this will again convert into embeddings and all. Search the relevant information, pass it here, and then you can use your GenAI activities to convert that into a more meaningful response. So this is how you can actually set up um, your what do you call that UiPath storage bucket, context grounding, and create a chatbot on the fly. So yeah, that was all about this demo. Thank you guys. Time for questions.
Okay, so Manoj, there are two questions which I think one I have answered, but I think it is good for other people
Mhm.
also, right? So you explain about the distances in the vector search, right? And a lot of people are asking that how is this related to UiPath?
So okay. So maybe some people need to understand how these searches are
Yeah.
happening within your vector database. So if you're designing something like your solution for your agents, it would be good if you understand this concept beforehand.
Yes.
That way, you can actually save your cost because you don't know how many AI units or your agentic units or maybe your if your vector DB comes up with some kind of a cost, if you don't know how much memory or cost they are going to consume from your pocket. So for that, these information is required.
And today, whenever we are using this UiPath solution, UiPath is managing all of this for us, right? But when you drive right any enterprise use case, you might have a requirement to manage your own vector database, right? So at that point, it is important for you to understand that how this chunking and this thing works so that you can better relate to, right? So the whole idea was this. And then there was one more question which I just asked that I think tick, 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 tick. Yeah, okay. It's
And this could
okay.
be a
It's
good interview
maybe
question as well.
yeah, this can be a good interview question as well. Okay. Okay. So if we are giving something which is Manoj, this is for you, right? So if we are giving something out of context, what will happen?
Okay, out of context means your LM model doesn't know about this, right?
Yeah,
Obviously, it will not return a
yeah,
response to you.
right.
So maybe
And
it is like
hmm,
how you train your AI models. You pass the context, and based on context, it actually learns from it. But if
yes.
your AI model doesn't have the context, which Mukesh has shown in the demo, so AI model doesn't have any idea about that topic. But when Mukesh passed the data via context grounding, it actually understood and provided the response accordingly.
So
It
for
is like
example,
raising your kids.
yeah, if you see here, right, how do you design your agentic solution depend on that how the LLM is going to respond. So for example, I just go here and I say, who is Mukesh Kala, right, to the autopilot. Now, when I put this request and It says that it is able to give me this information only because this information is coming from here and it does not have any context, any information out of it. But what happens if I just go to my agent, which in case is Autopilot, and I say that give it access to the Google? Hopefully, Google might have a little more information about myself, right? So I can just say, and then I say refresh, and then it will refresh. Now, what has happened is I have designed my agent to give me the response not restricted to my document, my environment, but also I have given the access to internet. And now when I ask the same question, it is going to get more details from my LinkedIn, from my YouTube, and all the other details. So to answer your question, LLM will respond to you based on how you create the agent. If you have asked it to restrict to that scope, it will restrict. If you have asked it to give anything beyond internet, it will give you. So it again depends on your implementation, right? And then guys, you can unmute yourself and ask questions, right?
Hey,
So I can see. Yeah, Prasad, go on.
sorry, Prasad here from Qualisil. I have a couple of questions. So one thing I think Mukesh already asked it, but I want to go a little deeper into it. Suppose when we are preparing the context grounding, we are saving everything into vector DB using the tokenization and all right. So what happens if there are some unknown words in the while we are trying to give the prompt?
It should be able to get you the answer. Unknown words as in it is not a one-to-one match, right? If you would have noticed, right, when I was writing my prompt, right, I didn't ask it to give me the actual session details, right?
Okay.
If I would have just written session 2 or second session, SCCO second session, still it would be able to get that answer. And that is the power of LLMs. If you compare this to the traditional chatbots where you have to actually write the exact word, right?
Yeah. My second question is related to the semantics, where let's say we are feeding multiple languages content to the same vector DB. Then how does this work? Because we observe, right, some words, some good words in one language become bad words in other languages. So how does that mapping happens?
Okay, so the answer to that question is guardrails, right? Which we are going to cover in the upcoming sessions, right? So for these things, right? Uh, every LLM, including UiPath, has something which is called a guardrail restriction, which filter out all these kinds of content. Even today, if you go to, let's say, any chat GPT and you ask something abusive or something controversial, it is not able to give you the answer, right? So when you implement this agentic AI solution, you have to implement some kind of guardrails. That is one of the topic in the upcoming session. You would see, I don't remember the session. So to answer your question, we have to implement guardrails, so that will stop all these kind of things, right?
Uh,
Bad languages and all, right?
I think it was not about the bad language,
Mm-hmm,
but uh, from one language perspective, it is a good language that when
mm-hmm.
I'm creating the content.
So Mukesh, I
Uh,
think Prasad
That
meant that
yes.
in one language it is it's a good word, but in another language it might be a bad word.
Bad word.
So
Ah, okay.
how
So
that
that is a beauty behind this. You can say indexing. It actually understand the semantics, actually your meaning of data, and give a numerical representation to it. Be it in any language, because it doesn't store your data actually. It stores the numbers there.
Yeah. Now,
So that's how. Yeah.
yeah, this is somehow relevant. Now, for example, it looks a bit funny, but orange falls under both fruits and colors, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to answer that question, right, I got your point, what you are coming from. So whenever you design any agentic solution, when you go to actually agent builder, right, which is coming, the first thing you tell the agent is the purpose why you are designing the agent, right? So
Yeah.
for example, today you are building an agent, you have to give the background. of the agent, which means you have to give the context. So for example, take an example of the orange, and I am a paint shop. So I will write the prompt into the initial when I'm building the agent builder, which will come into the upcoming session. You will see, I'll just say that my agent is a paint shop where I am dealing with colors. Now, when any user comes and write orange, it's not going to be treated as a fruit. It's going to be treated as a paint slash color.
Got it.
Does that answer?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks.
Awesome.
I have one question. That currently I'm working with a banking system, so they have their confidential data. So I need to do some use an AI model based on what you have explained. That the models that whatever we select those models, those will be online. So banks don't prefer those. So they want us to have an on-prem LLM or whatever the model we whatever the requirement is. Let's go with an LLM. So when I'm going with on-prem LLM, so what are the procedures? How will I will be selecting like what kind of, because I can't select the open AI offline model. It will require a large amount of a huge amount. If we're talking about it, so the client will straightforward reject that solution. So how do you suggest that we choose an LLM for our specific task? Like if I want to do an email classification that my customer sends me an email, it can be like if I'm in India, so they'll be like in English or they can be in Roman Hindi. Written in English, but sound like क्या आप
Yeah.
मुझे इस बारे में guide कर सकते हैं. So I
Hmm.
need to choose an LLM. So how would I choose a specific LLM for that purpose?
Okay. So today, agent builder and agent is available on cloud, right? Having said that,
Yeah.
UiPath has capability to integrate with any LLM. When you talk about the on-prem LLM, you might have heard of Llama, which is from Meta, right? Or you might have heard of something
Yeah.
which is called
Yeah.
Inflection. So both of these are the on-prem LLM, which means that the LLM sits into your company environment on-prem, right? You host the LLM
Yeah. Yeah.
on-prem, you train it on your data, and then you expose the APIs, right? When I say expose the API, you can do it as a connector or you can directly use an HTTP request. Now, wherever you want to implement it, instead of using that LLM and all, you just hit the connector. So for that, you cannot use the agent builder because today it is available on cloud, but you can do it by the traditional way, the way we used to connect to any other system, just an API call.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just have to use that. So there is no like it's a function or keyword for that. Like if I'm using Llama, it won't support me. Like I can directly connect to Llama without using an API or something, like through
So
the
today
users or
Llama
something.
is not there because Llama is installed on your local machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So thank you.
Hey
Hello.
Mukesh. Hey Mukesh,
Hello.
this is Naresh.
Hi, Naresh.
Yeah. Uh, I'm working on a project in that I need to reduce the tickets of the support, right? And where I found, okay, user is having some issue in the training. I mean, they don't have knowledge about the process and uh, they don't know how to deal with the application. And for there, the application team that support the application has the KB articles. So now I'm trying to understand how I can use the autopilot that can hit those KB articles and find the answer for the user.
Okay. Two ways to do it, right? If
Yeah.
your KB articles are not changing very frequently,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe are not changing for any
Yeah.
enterprise, right? You can
Right.
download all of them, and as myself and Manoj, we uploaded that documents to storage bucket, you
Mm-hmm.
upload your KB articles to the storage bucket, right?
Right.
You
Right.
enable the context, and then you have a front end in Autopilot which just hits and gives you the answer, right? Let's move to the
Okay.
second scenario where your KB articles are not in a form of, I would say, documents which can be downloaded and they keeps on updating.
Mm-hmm.
Autopilot has an option to hit the existing processes as well. I understand, I believe that you are an RPA developer or you have a
Yeah.
background of automation, right? So what you can do is you can write an automation, simple plain RPA robot, which goes to that, uh, I would say website, extract the information, put it in a structured format and upload to the storage bucket, refresh the context, and it is available back to the autopilot. Both the
Yeah.
ways, depending on
Yeah.
how you want
So
to do that.
Right. So in that mean, I have to upload my KB article in as an index in the bucket, and
Yes.
I can write the context.
Yes.
So that would be a multiple context because that KB article related to mean different problems.
No, you can have multiple indexes and then
Mhm,
you don't have to specify which index, right? So for
mhm.
example, when I was writing that prompt, right, I didn't specify which index.
Hmm.
My other solution have, let's say, 100 indexes. That's the job of Autopilot to identify the correct index.
Okay.
You don't
Then
have to do anything. Yeah.
if we have something like that can be automated based on the context, we can create a agent or a
Yes.
robot that can kick off and fix that issue.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
storage bucket also comes up with APIs.
Hmm.
So that uploading part can be also done with the help of automation, which you can schedule. Let's say every 15 days, I want the articles to be refreshed and all, can still do
Hmm.
that.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks,
So
Mukesh.
hi Mukesh, Abhinav
Good
this side.
afternoon,
Just
sir.
Guys,
Hello, sir.
if we can just raise hands, I think that would be easy for us. Yeah, Avinav, go ahead. Yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
just to add to Naresh's point, so the use case which he suggested at enterprise level. So what you like, what solution it will be? I was just trying to mimic it. So it will be like all the users who they want access to the KV documents, they will need to have assistants on their machine. And over
Yeah,
their Copilot, they can go to Copilot section and in their natural language, they can type it the query
type
and
the request, right.
we can have n number of KV documents. Have that indexing done at our storage bucket and map it to our agent, and then it will be done, right?
Yep, yes, correct.
And
Okay,
I guess the
thanks.
other good thing here, if you don't want to use Autopilot here, you
Hmm.
can create a UiPath app and
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking that only key, what will be the front end? Is it like we need to have user need to have assistant on their machine, or app can do that? So
It
it.
has to be a front end, any front end, as Manoj
Hmm.
mentioned, right? It could be apps, it could be Autopilot. You can build your own interface, connect it to that as well. So
Hmm.
UiPath provides you that flexibility.
Okay. Thanks, Manoj.
Okay, then I have Pranav. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mukesh. Yeah,
Hello.
great session today. Uh, just wanted to ask, like, can we, with the autopilot, can we connect like you showed, you can connect to Google as well for the as an information source. So, can we have any other website as well as an information source, like a different website
Yeah.
altogether?
Yeah, so we have something which is called web search activity, which is a part of your generative AI activity, right? So Gen
Okay.
AI activities are available there as an integration
No,
services.
no.
You, yeah.
Yeah, I was asking actually in a perspective like whether we can have it as a context grounding kind of thing.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We can have that,
Okay,
right? Web search.
okay,
Web search is
okay,
the answer. Yeah.
okay. And can we have any database as well as one of the
Okay, so
context grounding?
today the direct database is not available. Reason for that is the vector, right? Because LLM have to work on a vector and I cannot use Oracle and all, right? Having said that,
Mm-hmm.
you can always write an UiPath automation, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
connects to your Oracle, SQL, SSMS and all. And then periodically you just use that database to fetch the data and upload the vectors.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Pranav. Priyanka?
Yeah, hello, sir. Actually, I have a question related to context grounding. I'm trying to build a model, but always I get an error related to tokenization. But if I just try using a chunk, then the model don't provide efficient output after feeding a PDF to a model. So how can I just solve this error?
sorry,
Okay,
what
If
are you
I'm
trying to
let's,
achieve here?
yeah.
Actually, I'm building a model which
Mhm.
can analyze a PDF and give an output related on that PDF. But whenever I try and tokenization like API, Open API, and all those cases, whenever
Model,
I, sorry,
sorry, model means your custom model here. Like you're creating some kind of a model on your machine, some local model, or you're training your model.
actually, I'm training my model.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your
Okay.
embedding is not working. This is what you are saying.
Yes, sir. Like whenever I'm trying open API
Mhm.
or else Hugging Face or else GPT-4 and all those things, I get an tokenization error. And if I'm not using a tokenization API and all those things, just using in chunks, then I'm not getting a efficient output.
That's the problem with the Mac, right?
Yeah.
So Max token, I think, are you using the free version or are you using the paid version of it? I
Sir,
think
if I'm using a free version, it is not working.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, for all these LLMs, right? I haven't tried Hugging Face and all, but at least for GPT, I can say every LLM, the free version, have something which is called a free quota, right? So, for example, if today all the free users are hitting that thing, you will get into that tokenization thing, right? So, if you're building something like this, right? So, the best way is to create token yourself, which means, in other words, create the embedding yourself, manage your own vector database, and then manage your own LLMs.
Okay, sir.
So that would be the answer.
Okay, sir.
Hope
Thank you.
that helps. Okay.
Hugging has also got some limitations
Yeah.
with your file.
Okay. Thank you, Priyanka. Sushila?
Yeah, hi Mukesh. So in the last session when I attended, I learned like how to create agent and everything. So I built a one agent. It is working fine in that background, and it is means I'm also able to publish it. But when I'm trying to run it from orchestrator as a job, just like other RPA processes we are working running, it is not working. Means it is always giving me faulted status.
No, but what? Why it is getting faulted, right? That you need to figure out.
Yeah, Miss, I just want to know, can we publish our agent process as a normal process to orchestrator?
But why would you like to do that? Uh,
Actually, I want to use that agent outside of orchestrator.
okay. So in your UiPath Studio, you have an activity called Run Agent. Okay.
Yes.
Drag and drop that activity, and that activity you would see all the agents which you have created. Now, when you publish that solution and when you run it from orchestrator, that will internally trigger the agent.
Yes, that I have also tried that. But the individual agent is working fine. But
Mhm.
through run agent activity, when I'm linking that agent, it is suspended to that state only.
See, suspended means that you have used persistence activity in your agent, right? When I say persistent, it is humans in the loop. So one of the component for agent is humans in the loop, where the agent is expecting some of the input, and that's why the agent goes into the suspended state, waiting for the human input. Till the time the human provide an input, the robot is occupied doing something else. As soon as you provide the input, it will be resumed. So suspended, if it is suspended, you previously mentioned faulted, right? Suspended means it is waiting for the user input. You might have used some persistence activity there. That's what suspended is.
Yeah, from like UiPath Studio or Web Studio, it is in suspended state. But but for that, I will check that. Means how to check that it is persistent or not.
It will come into your logs, right? Orchestrator logs, that why it is suspended. Or maybe you can run it
Okay.
in the debug mode, and that should be
Yeah, through debug mode actually, it is suspended and it is not never executing. I went to orchestrator sorry, orchestrator. In that
Mhm.
place, it is like stuck in agent thing. And
Okay. I think then, Susila,
new
sorry
log
to
is
cut you there, right? So, for the, I think these kind of issue, right? Maybe we can put it on the forum where I can try to answer. You can send me the link, right? And we can stick to the questions to this session only,
yeah,
right?
yeah, sure, sure. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. Mohammed.
So I just have another question regarding the on-prem LLM. So I'm just trying to think that how would I choose a specific LLM So I understand that when I'm using Llama, I'll have to use an API to do that. But with my Llama, I have multiple options that whatever kind of LLM I'm using. So how can I choose a specific LLM for that purpose? Is there any guide for that? I know it's not the topic for today, but I just want the information that how is there any guide or something that from where I can learn that I can understand that how should I choose an LLM for that purpose
See,
based on
there
my
is
machine specifications.
there is no guide for that, but it is simple, right? So how many parameters the LLM is trained on, right? So for example, GPT is trained on 1.3 billion parameters something. That's why when you ask a question, it is able to give you the response clearly. If you install Llama locally, you would see that it is not able to give you the answers more accurately as it was supposed to do, right? Now depending on your again requirement, if you install Llama, you would have to train it on this. Otherwise there are other LLM which has a different function, different I would say different LLMs have different properties. So for example, if you see this inflection, right, they say that they are more human centric and this is more human, I would say more human centric LLM. It does not give you the responses. It is more towards the emotional intelligence. So agents have different kind of intelligence. Someone has action quotient, someone has intelligence quotient, someone has EQ, IQ, and all these things. So what kind of industry you are trying to build a use case for? So for example, if you are building something for healthcare, you want the LLM to respond, which is more empathetic. Whereas if you want to build something for a financial, you want it to be more decision driven. That would be your starting point. Hope that answers. Okay, we'll take that as yes. Then
Okay, so just thank you. I just
okay,
another question about regarding writing a prompt on those things that how can I improve like those prompt writing skills? Because every time you write a prompt, the LLM won't give you the specific answer that you're looking for. So those prompt writing skills that they're also important for in context that we want to use some any kind of LLM or any kind of agentic AI or something. So we need to learn that how
prompt
those
engineering.
prompts are prompt engineering. So
So you
though
have to learn
that
prompt
prompt
engineering.
engineering,
Yeah.
yeah, that's something. Okay, so does UiPath provide something like a course
Yes.
regarding that?
It's not a course which is available on UiPath, but if you see the UiPath agent builder, right? So they have given you some of the best practices to write the prompts. So best practices are there
Ah,
already. Maybe whenever we are
ah.
covering the agent builder session, there we'll cover that as well.
Oh, okay, okay.
And
Thank
I
you.
guess
Thank
in
you, Mukesh.
in builder you will get something with
Hashtags, hash, yeah, delimiters.
something like that where
Yeah,
it'll tell you okay whether you have written the right prompt or not. Something like that.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Manoj. Thank you.
Okay, guys, any more questions? Guys, I see a lot of chat. You guys, I think Adriano, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. You have a long question. Single agent. Okay. Manoj, you have read that. You want to answer that?
I guess
Or
Dinesh,
Adriano, if you can unmute and you can ask the question yourself as well. It's also fine.
Yes, Mukesh, I'm here.
Hey, hi.
Thank you. I'm saying if you will have a demo orchestrating many steps in a workflow with many human or automated decisions, in every step, I need to call another or other agents as Manoj show us. So it is possible, and I think it's possible, but very interesting. Not chatting with only an agent. So I'm viewing a long-term workflow in parallel. In parallelism, I'm chatting and I'm using agents to solve the many steps workflows. So I take faster decisions in every step, but I need to preserve the long-term workflow. I'm a specialist in I'm a specialist in BPMS and business rules. I'm very interested in technology. And nowadays with UiPath using an orchestration in long term, I'm very interested in have the fusion of the long term and the short term and agents.
Okay. Short answer to your question is UiPath has got something which is called UiPath Maestro, right? Which is
Yes, yes,
Maestro,
yes,
which is also known
yes.
as the agentic orchestration. I'll put the link. This should answer your question, right? So it is coming, right? Yeah. Manoj, your mic is not working, I guess.
I guess there's
Okay.
some problem with my mic.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just saying that, yeah, with Mastro, you can just define your workflow with agents, with
Yeah.
robots. So you can just connect everything together and run it in one go.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess in next call, I'll just change my mic again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess we have also got a
Okay.
question from Lata. Lata, can you just unmute and ask your question if you are there?
Okay, maybe I'll ask the question, Manoj, on behalf of Lata, right? So it says that I have uploaded a sensitive document to the storage bucket and did all the query and LLM, right? There is another person in my organization who uses the same orchestrator, right? Now, would he have access to my storage bucket? Since it is a long-term memory, it will remain my sensitive information and it can leak my information. How ethical are the agents?
Okay, so that actually depends how you're actually going to define your automation here. If you're using Autopilot, obviously that will go into your shared folder. So other user won't have access to your storage buckets. But if you are saying, okay, no, I don't need to use Autopilot here, I'll stick to um, UiPath apps. So maybe with at the runtime, you can just set up, okay, for this user, this information should be available, something like that. But for personal user, I would recommend that it should only have access to that shared folder only. So you should stick to Autopilot. But for generic information, yes, UiPath apps you can go for.
And just to add to that, UiPath has also got something which is called PII filtering, which is available into your UiPath generative AI pack, where you can actually hide your sensitive information by just using a single activity. So you don't have to upload your sensitive data, right? So that's called PII filtering. That also you can do.
Right. And I guess we've got one more question from Gautam. Do we have Gautam on the call? Maybe Mukesh, you can just write it and you can provide an answer.
I don't see that question, Manoj. What is that?
Gautam has said he has some testing scripts in Tosca, and Tosca is a model-based approach application, and the
Okay.
file are in its their own format. Now he wants if we can upload the Tosca files in storage bucket and use context rounding to build that same test scripts in UiPath using Autopilot.
Okay. See, for this, your autopilot is not the answer for that, right? Autopilot is a conversational agent, Gotham, right? Which is giving you an opportunity to ask follow-up questions and all. Your requirement is more kind of a automation requirement. Top of that, UiPath also have got something which is called UiPath Test Suite. They have also introduced something which is called agentic testing. So this thing fits into agentic testing. Can we do with this approach? The answer to that question is yes. But should we do it? The answer is no, because we are overcomplicating the stuff. One simple way could be that you have uploaded it to the vector database, and then from UiPath, you just write an automation to directly access the storage bucket and get the data. Right? Going to Autopilot, because Autopilot is a conversational agent, helping you to answer the questions and not creating something new. And when I create in Autopilot, it entirely depends on the prompt, right? So chances are there when you write a different prompt, it might give you a different option. So here you need to create an automation and not create an autopilot solution. And also I would request you to just explore the agentic testing, which is now available into UiPath as well. So that should answer. Okay, I think Manoj, we have covered everything. Your mic again went, Manoj. Yeah.
So I guess that's all we have for now. Thank you guys for joining the session again. So we'll see you next time, same time.
Okay. And just a request, guys, if you enjoyed the session, right, feel free to post your learnings over LinkedIn, tag myself, Manoj, Rohit, and happy to amplify your post and see you in the next sessions.
And again, sorry, I forgot to tell you one more thing. If you still have got any doubt, maybe you can use forum.uipath.com for your questions. So you can just post your question there, tag agents, and whenever we get time, we'll make sure that we'll respond to that questions.
Right. Again, the same question where we find the recording. The recording would be available on the same page. I have again shared the link. Click on that. It would be available
We'll
always
create
there.
an agent for the same.
Right. Great, guys. So thank you so much, guys, for joining and have a good rest of your day. See you in the next session.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
Mukesh and Manoj, for the
Thank you.
wonderful session.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much, Manoj.
Thank
Mukesh. Yeah.